Is it recording? Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
I can wait for our friends to come back there before starting.
Okay.
We lost them.
Okay, here we go. So
There we go.
okay, here we go. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Taylor. Okay, because this will be on YouTube, so I will start with the official presentation, so we can edit later easily. So thank you, everybody, for staying here. Thank you to our guest speaker, Taylor Seed, from Dalhousie University. Today is our second ESCOM webinar. This is a webinar series in which we learn about different experience and mainly tools related with citizen science on coastal areas. Our guest speaker today, Dr. Taylor Seed, she is working on one of my favorite ecosystems, that are the seagrasses or the eelgrass. It depends how we call, but they are an amazing ecosystem, but also quite difficult to measure because they're underwater. So today we will learn how we can monitor these ecosystems, but also this very interesting project that is called CERI. So I will give the space to our guest speaker, Taylor. Thank you very much for staying here.
Awesome. Well, great to meet both of you virtually. Hopefully, I'll meet you and everybody else in person soon. I think you said Dr. Camillo. I'd love to be a doctor. I'm not, although that did sound wonderful. But I'm the program coordinator for the Community Eelgrass Restoration Initiative. So my focus is primarily on education and outreach surrounding eelgrass, its impacts, its importance, and how we can get people like you involved. So I've got a presentation, probably won't be too long, maybe 30 minutes or so, if that, and then lots of times for questions and stuff if you have them. But the purpose of my presentation is really just to show you what eelgrass is, why it's important, and how we study it, and how you can get involved should that be something you decide to do. You mentioned the deanery. I am very, very familiar with the deanery and Kim. We go back quite a few years, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities for collaboration because they're actually the deanery project's one of the partners on our project. So that all fits in really, really nicely. So I will share my screen and then we can kind of get going. If you have any questions at any point in time, because it's just the two of you, feel free to just interrupt me, raise your hand, it's totally fine. Awesome. So again, my name is Taylor with the Community Eelgrass Restoration Initiative. And I'll go into what we are and what we do here, but we kind of have three broad goals, I guess you can say. So we're very community centered. So our project really does focus on people first, people focused research, and that's kind of the approach that we're trying to take. So citizen science is really important to us. We also work with our local Mi'kmaq communities, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Climate smart research and knowledge informed as well. So doing our best to be as climate smart as possible. We're obviously living in a changing climate, and with climate change and global warming, we have to be adaptable. We have to be adaptive and knowledge informed, specifically utilizing the knowledge of Mi'kmaq people who have a lot of information on eelgrass, just waiting to be utilized. So some of our guiding principles, we work very closely with the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq. And I don't know if these are two terms that anyone has heard before, but we utilize Netagulink, which is a holistic approach to conservation through Mi'kmaq lens, and Eptuuptimunk, which is two-eyed seeing, which means that we take Western science and Indigenous ways of knowing, and we utilize both of those in our conservation practices. So we firmly believe that one cannot exist without the other. Both have their merits when it comes to conservation, and neither is more important than the other. And that's how we try to conduct our research. We're always learning, but that's ultimately where we stand. So this is eelgrass. I don't know if anyone has seen eelgrass or know what eelgrass is, but it's a really, really cool little plant. So it is a true grass. It grows under the water. It is not a kelp. It is not a seaweed. It reproduces both sexually and asexually. So it produces pollen and it actually pollinates through the water column, which is really interesting. And then it reproduces asexually with cloning and rhizome production. So really, really cool little plant, really unique. And it can be found almost all along the coasts in Nova Scotia, as opposed, besides the Bay of Fundy, where the tidal action is a little bit too strong. But it is declining, and part of our research is trying to understand why. So these are some eelgrass meadows. One is much more of a healthy meadow on the, I'm not sure if that's your left or your right, if it's flipped the screen for you, but the really, really pretty blue one is Owl's Head. And then on the right is actually an eelgrass meadow in PEI. We did a workshop of almost 2 years ago now with them, and you can see it's very, very patchy. Ideally, eelgrass meadows should be thick and lush, and a lot of them tend to kind of look like the one you see on the right there, a little bit more patchy and a bit more damaged. So our goal is for them all to look as beautiful as the one on the left. We're not quite there yet. But eelgrass is a bit of a super plant. So it provides plenty of benefits. The ones that we talk about a lot, climate change. So it absorbs blue carbon at rates higher than plants on land. So it stores carbon in its root system underground, and we're actually studying that right now with our project as to how much actually is stored. It provides habitat for all of our favorite species, specifically lobster, crab, cod, a lot of species that we heavily rely on the East Coast. It slows down wave action, so it helps prevent erosion. It helps with water quality by filtering, and so on. So it's a really, really cool plant. And one of the things that we'd like to focus on too is the cultural significance. So specifically lobster and eel, very, very important to Mi'kmaq. And that's also a big focus of our project. So again, kind of things that I talked about already, but seagrasses make up only 0.1 to 0.2% of the seafloor, but actually sequester 10% of all the blue carbon that's buried in the ocean every year. And there's the potential to remove carbon 30 to 40 times faster than the rainforest. So everyone talks about the Amazon rainforest, obviously incredibly important carbon sink, but seagrasses perform that at a higher rate and no one really talks about it, right? Protects our shorelines from erosion, and then also our fisheries heavily rely on seagrass. Without seagrasses, eelgrass, in our case, our fisheries would collapse. So not good. That's where our project comes in. So we aim to do these 4 things, plus obviously quite a few other things, but ultimately we're looking to map eelgrass. We actually don't know where it is in Nova Scotia. We have ideas, and we have lots of utilizing our citizen scientists, which we'll talk about in a minute. We know we have a decent idea of where eelgrass is, but we actually don't have a thorough understanding of where it is all around Nova Scotia. So we're aiming to actually map the extent. It's hard to understand how fast something is disappearing when you don't know where it is to begin with. So that's a big part of our project. We're measuring things like biodiversity in eelgrass and blue carbon, like I mentioned, restoring, which is the actual replanting. So we do a lot of replanting of eelgrass along Nova Scotia, and then educate, like I'm doing now. We do a lot of outreach in communities to kind of spread the word of eelgrass. But what I'm going to be focusing on today is the mapping. So that's where the citizen scientists come in. For the most part, is helping us map the extent of eelgrass around Nova Scotia. And we do that utilizing iNaturalist. So because it is just the two of you here, I don't know if either of you are familiar with iNaturalist, if it's something that you've used before. No? Perfect. So I'm not you'll learn today, but iNaturalist is a really incredible superpower of a resource for citizen scientists who are looking to work with data sets in a free and accessible way. A lot of the time, scientists and data collectors can be very what's the word, protective over their data, which we understand. But iNaturalist is a free to use resource that anybody can use, and the data is free to use at all times. So it's a really, really cool resource. And I have kayaking, shore walking, and drones on here, as those are kind of some of the three main ways people can get involved. And I'll explain that more in just a bit. So what is iNaturalist? So it's a free to use online identification tool where anybody at all can go and take a picture of something, upload it to iNaturalist, and then a community of citizen scientists can identify it. So you can take a picture of a mushroom and somebody in another part of Nova Scotia can, confirm your identification. If it gets 3 or more positive confirmations, it becomes research grade. And once a point becomes research grade, it can then be used in our project. So our goal is to get as many research grade eelgrass observations as possible, so we can see map the extent of where eelgrass is around Nova Scotia. So like I said, user base confirms or denies the observation, and it's free to use. So we love that. So this is our mapping project, the Ecology Action Center and Eelgrass Mapping Project. If you've heard of the Ecology Action Center, they're one of the main partners on our project. And they actually started this initiative back in 2021, 22. And it was really, really popular, and then unfortunately kind of fell off and became less popular. And so we're trying to revitalize it and revamp it now. So we're in collaboration with the Ecology Action Center on this project. And I'm going to kind of go over on these next few slides, if you were to download iNaturalist, how you would do so. And if you'd like, I can actually go through, I can share my screen, and I can show you how we add observations. If that's something that you'd like to see. So these are kind of really blurry. I didn't realize how blurry they were going to be, so I apologize. But when you download iNaturalist, when you go on the website, you'll have an option to upload your photos. And so it'll look like this. I'm pointing, not that you can see where I'm pointing, but it'll look like this here, drag and drop some photos. So you can take photos on your phone, and you can download them right to the app, or you can download them to your computer, and then you can add them on your computer or tablet. So whatever works better for you. I've actually never uploaded one on my computer, so I had to teach myself how to do that because I've only ever used the app on my phone. So it just depends on what works best for the individual. But you'll drag and drop photos, and they'll show up on the iNaturalist webpage. You can combine all the photos that are one observation. So if you take 7 photos of one eelgrass blade, you'll combine all of those into one observation. And then you can add information like the location, any fun notes, animals that you saw, any other relevant data to your observation. If you take it on your phone, all of the information like location, time, date will be automatically uploaded. If you're uploading photos at a later date, you might have to add that information yourself. So, sorry?
We have actually used the app. We had
Oh, you have? Oh, good.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We've had because there's no self-service, we've had to upload later on. But yeah, I think that's a great idea, trying to find the coordinates so that anybody looking at it would know exactly where it is.
Yeah, so iNaturalist is great for that. So I'll show you our maps in a minute. I have maps of all of the observations that we have of eelgrass, but it's just it's an invaluable resource. We heavily utilize the iNaturalist observations. Our team is very small, and we can only be in so many places at once. And so to have people on the ground identifying where eelgrass is, we can then go out to those locations, and we can actually see it for ourselves and see if it's an area that needs to be restored, if it's an area that we can harvest from, maybe it's an area that we can do biodiversity monitoring at. And so it's been an incredibly valuable resource for us. And I just showed this down at the bottom here. When you do upload your observations, other people, other citizen scientists or scientists, can come on and they can confirm or deny your observations. So it's also a really great learning tool. You'll see in a minute my iNaturalist account of all things that I have. I don't know who would try to hack an iNaturalist account, but my iNaturalist account was compromised. So all my observations are gone, which is really upsetting. So if you wanted a refresher on how to upload them, I can show you from my my very, very empty and sad iNaturalist account. But these are our maps here. So on the left, the map that's outlined in yellow, that is our the map from our iNaturalist project. So all of those little dots and green markers show where citizen scientists have uploaded observations of eelgrass. And then if you look at the other photo, which is a Google My Maps photo, that's where we keep all of our data and we collect all the information. That is iNaturalist observations, as well as confirmed eelgrass spots that we've confirmed through other means, whether we found the eelgrass, people have sent us emails over, emails through the website, or just hearsay information. So we take all of that information, we go to those locations, we confirm or deny if there's eelgrass present, and then we potentially have those as future study sites. So those are our two maps. We're hoping to fill up that map with as many markers as possible, but it's still very much in development. So the different methods that we use to collect this data, kayaking is our main one. And so typically how this project started was people would kayak or paddleboard, a GoPro would get stuck to the bottom of their vehicle of choice, and then it would collect passive information as people paddled over. The reason this is great is because people that go out and they adventure on the regular, you don't have to know where an eelgrass meadow is. A lot of the times people were just finding it. And that's what we ultimately need. We need people to find eelgrass meadows that we don't know are there. So paddleboarding or boating or kayaking, canoeing are really, really great ways to do that. Shore walking. So people would be walking along the shore, and after large storm events, eelgrass tends to get churned up and it washes on the beach. And so a lot of observations come from people finding chewed up and spit out eelgrass on shorelines. And then one that's far less accessible, but people do is drone work. So flying up as high as you can, taking aerial images of large sites, and then identifying patches of eelgrass from the air. Obviously far less accessible, but still something that people do. And then the honorable mention is for our snorkeling. That's what our team tends to do, is going out snorkeling and diving and collecting information. Not nearly as helpful if you don't know where the eelgrass meadow is. You'd be snorkeling for quite a long time, but that tends to be how our team collects our data. And that is a way that you could do it as well. If you just happen to be swimming in an area and you find an eelgrass meadow, I mean, that's fantastic. And please collect that data. So the outcomes for our project and the reason we're doing what we're doing ultimately is to understand where eelgrass is and where it's disappearing or reappearing over time. And we use iNaturalist for that, as well as traditional and community knowledge that we've been collecting. We use this data to target areas for replanting, community engagement, and our research. Again, things like replanting, biodiversity monitoring, blue carbon, et cetera. We're working on creating a distribution map of eelgrass around Nova Scotia so we can actually physically see where it is. And then we want to foster a sense of responsibility and connection with our eelgrass meadows. So a lot of people, when I say, have you heard of eelgrass? Do you know what it is? They say no. And it's just sad because it is such an important little plant for Nova Scotians. And a lot of people don't really understand or know what it is. And these are some of our incredible citizen scientists that have done this in the past. So a lot of these people still do upload on iNaturalist. But these two individuals were part of the Ecology Action Center kayaking program. And so they were geared up with GoPros, and over, through their adventures, they would collect data on the GoPro and then upload it to the iNaturalist project. So that's by far the most popular way that people collect data. But any way that people want to be involved in collecting information on eelgrass, we're very, very for it. So that's all I have on my presentation. I know you two know how to upload things on iNaturalist, but I was prepared to go through the whole process, Camille, and show people how to do it if that's something that that you were interested in me showing. I'm happy to do that as well.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. No, I have at least 4 questions.
Brilliant. Ask away.
Yeah, but first I would like that you can show us a little about the iNaturalist, how you include maybe some example with one of the pictures. Will be possible?
Yeah, well, I can, what I'll do here is I have it up. So I can, this is my iNaturalist, but I can go to our project and I can show you, I can kind of go through the project. So this is us. And you can go and click on the most observed species, obviously is eelgrass because it's the only species that we accept. And these are some of the observations here. So you can see this actually right here, the aerial view. That's from our lead scientist. Sorry?
Could I ask one question? So if we were
yeah.
going to upload, do we have to go into your account to upload it into?
Well, so what you would do is you would go into iNaturalist and you would join our project. And so if I was to go back to my presentation here, just present from here. So you can see in the top corner here, it says leave this project. Can you see that?
No, I'm not sure.
Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes, you are. I just.
Yeah, it say in the screen say the CERI Eelgrass mapping project.
Oh yes,
yeah, here maybe I can. So I'm back on my presentation now, but if you can see this, it says here, it says leave this project. That means that I've joined that project. So what you would do, you would go to, maybe I can show you here. That would be better. Let's do, go here.
She's right up here.
iNaturalist.
And go into about. There we go. So I'm on the page right now. You would type in our project, so the EAC CERI mapping project, and then you go to the top right corner and it would say join this project. And when you join the project, all observations of eelgrass that you now collect will automatically be uploaded to our project. So it's an umbrella project. So everybody who joins our project who meets our criteria, i.e. identifying eelgrass, automatically gets included in our project. So there would be an option when you do go, and I can show everyone now. I'll go through the steps. When you go and want to go upload, you can say what project you want it to be included in. Because we're an umbrella project, it should automatically include your observations as long as they meet the criteria. The criteria being it's eelgrass.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can kind of go through the motions here with uploading. Again, all of my observations were lost. So that's unfortunate, but at least you can see what it looks like starting from scratch. I don't have any eelgrass photos that I've taken that aren't already on the project, so I'll be uploading a mushroom photo and we just won't submit it.
Okay.
So I will drag and drop my mushroom photos. We'll pretend that they're eelgrass. So I've uploaded my 2 photos here. I just dragged and dropped them. And now I'm going to combine them because these are the same species, the same day. I want all of these photos to be together. Species name, I have no idea. And so iNaturalist, in its brilliant wisdom, will show me all of the options that it thinks this might be. It'll do the same for you when you upload your eelgrass, and then you can type in your thing, like Zostera marina, that is our species. You could type that in. You could type in common eelgrass, whatever you'd like. So we're assuming this is eelgrass, and we would type in eelgrass. And then all of our citizen scientist friends could come on and confirm or deny our observations. I'm not going to submit this because they'll think I'm crazy, but we're going to assume this is eelgrass. And so date, you would pick and choose the date. So you could do January 1st, let's say here, and then location, you could zoom in and pick, the exact location that you took that observation. And then you can say update your observation. Yours would obviously be on a coastline. And so you can add any notes. Sorry?
Could you go over that again? I just missed that last part.
Of course, yeah. So you have 3 main categories here, 4 if you include the notes section. So eelgrass, I'll type in the name of the species that I think it is. I'll put in the date and the time that I took the observation. And then I will also click on this little area right here, which will bring up a map of the world. And then I can zoom in to exactly where I took the observation. If you have your geo coordinates, even better, you can plug those in. If not, as close as possible. If it's in a, if it was in a bay, get as close as possible to the area that you took the photo.
Is there,
and then you can do
when you're taking the photo, is there a way, is there something to link into to save the coordinates so that you could download them later? if you have no cell service?
It totally depends on what kind of phone you're using. So some phones, if you have connection, if you have data connection, or if it has GPS, then it might, you know, photos do have like geo information saved on them. It totally
Okay.
depends on what
What
you are using to take your photos. Yeah.
Okay.
So we just say the best possible data. So if you know that you were down in Liverpool and you know what bay you were in, you can zoom right in and you can put in the notes in and around this bay, you know, if there's any information, you know, by the really big tree and the boulder that look, you know, so as much information as possible is great. Especially if it's in an area that no one else has taken observations in, the more information, the better, so we can actually find it.
Okay.
Captive or cultivated, hopefully you won't have to press that button, because if it's a captive or cultivated plant, it's not eelgrass, so we don't want it. And down here in projects is where you're able to add it to our project. So if you're worried about the observations not being included, you can click on our project there, and then it'll definitely be included. So that's just a fail-safe way to ensure that the information does get collected.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. Other fields are kind of unnecessary. Tags and stuff are kind of unnecessary. And at this point, you would submit your observation, and then it would get added to our project.
Okay,
I'm not going to do that because obviously it's a mushroom, so
Right.
delete it.
Taylor, I got a question.
Of course, yeah.
47 years ago, here in Mosier River, Nickental Harbor, that Nickental Harbor was full of eelgrass, and now there's no eelgrass whatsoever. What?
No way. Where is this? Sorry.
Mosier River, Nova Scotia.
How do you spell that? Sorry.
Moser River.
Rider. Oh. Sorry, one more time. I think there's a bit of a delay. MOSE.
R.
R.
And then river. River.
Okay, Moser River.
There's still some. There's still eelgrass.
Yeah, but it used to be.
Yes,
full.
yes, I
Got
know.
it. So like right in kind of like that inlet, there used to be a whole bunch of eelgrass, and there's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more now just in the channel, but I remember as a child swimming, and we could only swim out probably a couple of feet, and then there was the eelgrass, and now it's all resided.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. So that's good to know. I don't believe that's one of our I don't think we have anything in that location, but I can take a peek and I can take note of that. And that's the kind of information that we really, really need, is kind of this knowledge that's been passed down on areas that have eelgrass, or that, you know, that used to and that don't anymore. So I'll take note of that. Sorry, what's your name? Sorry, guys, we never got to introduce you.
Stuart and Ann Martin.
It's really nice to meet both of you, and I'll take note of that. So Moser River. Our lead scientist, you never know, she's got 101 things in her head. She might be aware of that site, but on the off chance that she's not, I've taken note. And that would be a great place if there were no, let's say there was no eelgrass observations in that area, going and taking some photos and uploading them to iNaturalist so they're in our data set, is really, really helpful. Robin?
Yeah, hi. I'd like to apologize for coming in late. I lost track of the time. And my name is Robin Metcalf. I'm in Sheet Harbor Passage. And is it just 4 of us in the meeting at the moment?
Yeah, this is everybody.
And how much have I missed?
You missed my presentation, but it is being recorded, so you can go back after and rewatch that. But I guess to get you kind of very, very quickly up to speed. Hello, my name's Taylor. I'm the program coordinator for the Community Eelgrass Restoration Initiative. And I just did a quick little presentation on our project, who we are. Essentially, we're an eelgrass restoration project focusing on community outreach and education, as well as our research. And we use an app called iNaturalist, which I just did a presentation on, which is like a citizen science app and feature that anybody can go on and they can upload observations. Obviously, we're specifically interested in eelgrass.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Robin, if
familiar
you've
with
used
iNaturalist. I use it all the time.
You see the posts.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's so you didn't miss too much then.
Eelgrass. They can tell her younger.
And
But
I'm
what
gonna
I
go.
will do.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have
Taylor,
more questions, Camille?
Yeah, I have. I have more than 4 now.
Brilliant.
I have some groups of questions. First, I would like to ask you about iNaturalist just as an app. My first question is about how do you use the iNaturalist in the kayaking? We are more familiar with PlanNet, but I think it's quite similar to iNaturalist. But I think the two main difference are first that PlanNet give you the percentage of probability to be one species or another. And I think the second one is that is focused only on plants. But I think it works quite similar. So my question is, if you are in a kayak, as you explained to us, and you have the GoPro, how do you include this recording into iNaturalist?
Yeah, so the GoPro would take the images passively as you're going around, and then you would take those photos, you'd upload them to your computer. You would sift through, find the images that you wanted to upload, and then you would have to actively upload those to iNaturalist. iNaturalist will also tell you what percentage, so it'll say there's, most likely eelgrass, second most likely probably this, so it will kind of rank the things for you, much like PlantNet, I think, does. But yeah, using the GoPro, you would take those images, upload to your computer, sift through them, and then upload the ones that you wanted to use.
Okay, so in this case, it's not that you take the picture directly to the app, so it will be like a pre-processing step. So
yeah, if it was on your phone, so if you had a waterproof phone case and you wanted to stick your phone in the water and you wanted to do it directly on the app, you could do so. So you could take the photo and it would upload directly to the app and you could just do it that way. But with the GoPro, it's a bit more tedious only because it is passively collecting data as you are kayaking or paddleboarding. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I think it's great to know because it means a little more time, to dedicate, because if you go for kayaking, later you need to download normally a video, or you configure the GoPro to take pictures some lapse time, or how do you do it? Or just extract the picture from the recording?
So it depends, right? So the GoPro, typically you would abstract the photo from the recording. So if you're recording as you were going and it was collecting video the entire time, you would go through and you would watch the video, see where you get to your eelgrass, take some stills, upload that to iNaturalist.
Okay, but also you can configure to take pictures with some time lapse, isn't it? You know that
Potentially, I'm not an expert in GoPros, so they're not something that I'm extremely familiar with. I know how to use them in the way that I need to use them, and that's about it. But
okay, no.
We also have our underwater camera that we use when we're snorkeling. We have an underwater camera that we use and we take all of our observations with as well.
Okay, and in this case, the GPS information will be not precisely in the place in which was the picture. In this case, will be the area, but because you are not interested exactly in the meters, in this scale.
Yeah, I don't need to know the exact, to the centimeter where the eelgrass blade was. What we really need to know is the bay. How far out is it? Is it 5 feet from the shore? Were you 20 meters out from the shore? Was the eelgrass visible from the surface, or were you diving and you found it, right? So that's kind of the information that we need.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I was very curious about the kayaking. Another question that I have is about the confirmation in iNaturalist. Because it also happened to me that I upload some pictures, some observation, and it say that it's waiting to be confirmed. But what's happening? Nobody confirmed my observation.
So we haven't had that issue yet. Everyone's been really, really on it. But if nobody confirms the observation, we can only use research grade. So we have to have confirmations. Typically, our lead scientist or one of us goes on there and we'll do it because it is our project and we want them to be research grade, so we can use them. So it's typically not an issue. But in the worst case scenario, if nobody was checking it, if it doesn't get to research grade, it doesn't get included in our data set.
Okay, yeah, because it happened to me last year, exactly with the beach flora, and this was one of the reasons why we decided to use PlantNet, because the observation in iNaturalist keep there, you know, waiting for confirmation, but because it's quite strange, but it looks like not many people like to go to the beach to observe the flora, so they was just waiting there. But in our case, in our project, we will have biologists that they will help us to confirm the observations. However,
yeah, like, I mean, if you look at all of our observations here, like they're, for the most part, they're all research grade. So if you scroll through, pretty much all of them have been confirmed by at least 2, sometimes 3 people. So there's very few that have not been. And we see one, which is this one right here that has one observation from 4 years ago. So
yeah. Yeah, okay, no, I think in your case, in your project, is the advantage that you are behind the scene, so you can confirm. This is something that we want to have also in our project with the beach flora. So we have somebody that can confirm. Another question about iNaturalist, my first set of questions is how to create a project in iNaturalist? How do you create a project?
yeah, so if you wanted to create a project, I can kind of go through it very, very quickly. So if you were going to be uploading any Eelgrass project, obviously I would hope that you included it in ours. But if you wanted to create a project for anything else, you could go
the beach flora, for
into,
example, that we don't have.
Yeah, so it's been so long since I've done this, but I need to go into projects. And then, so you go to projects here up in the top of the community, and then you can click start a project. And so there are different types of project, and they're used for different things. So you can start a project. There's collection projects and umbrella projects. So we're an umbrella project, which means that anything that is, anytime anyone's a part of our project and they collect information on eelgrass, it goes directly into our project. Collection projects are a little bit more specific, have more specific parameters, and are less inclusive. So depending on what you were looking to do, I would do the research into the 2 different types of projects and see which one suits you best. Tend to do umbrella projects, but let's just say for the sake of it, you can do this one. Let's say you were doing a BioBlitz, you would do a collection project. If you were going out and say on August 26th, you were doing I don't know, Camillo's Shoreline BioBlitz, you would do a collection project because it's for that specific day, only that data, and then it's done. When you click on which one you want to do, you go through all of these prompts. So the name of it, the project summary, what kind of species you want to include. So if, let's say you're doing a BioBlitz, you might be including all taxa. You could include all taxa. For us, obviously, ours just says eelgrass. That's the only thing we're collecting. So ours is very, very specific. That is the only species we're looking for. So you can choose whatever species you want in your project. You can say how in-depth you want it to be. So ours is always research grade. If you can still see my screen, hopefully I'm talking like you can see my screen, so I hope you can.
Yeah.
But ours is research grade only. We don't need ours to have sound because unfortunately eelgrass doesn't make any noise. But if you were, let's say you had birds or other animals, you could also include audio. So that way maybe somebody heard an owl in the woods, they took a recording, but they couldn't see it. That could also be used as well. And we obviously only want native plants. Again, we don't want any invasive species, but potentially if you were looking to include introduced or invasive species, you could decide as well. Observation dates. So ours is any because it's a large range. But if it was an exact date, let's say you were doing a BioBlitz on August 26th, you would only want to include information from that date. So you could decide. And then members, if you want to trust people with the coordinates or not, sometimes you're dealing with sensitive information, let's say a Blanding's turtle, like a species that is endangered or that is a special concern. You might not necessarily want people to know where you found it, and so you can hide some of that information to protect different species. And then you would create it. So then you'd click done, and then your project is created, and you can share it among your networks.
Okay.
So that's the
I have,
quick version of how to.
Yeah, no, it's great. I just have a small question about this procedure. Is in this part that you need to define the taxa, because I think there are a project like CERI project that is focused on one kind of species, you know, or one kind of taxa that is the biggest. But in our case, that we are interested, we want to use iNaturalist mainly for fauna more than flora, because now we are using PlantNet and we are quite familiar with that. But if we want to use fauna, but we don't know exactly which kind of fauna we will find it. You know, how can we solve this situation? We need to include the taxa, or could be totally open?
So it really depends. If there was certain species that you were looking for, you could plug it in. It's really hard to, so if let's say it can be a little bit difficult, so I would just leave it open. If you don't know what's there and you're trying to find out what is there, I would just leave it fully open. In your case, because it is, you know, fully open, I would probably leave it to people who are only people that have joined your project, and make it specific to just your team. That way you can have a bit more control over what's being included in your project. The more open you make it, the more likely you are to get very random observations included in there. So just keep it to you and your team, and then you guys can decide what you want to upload to your project. Ours is very broad, right? We can kind of make it as broad as we want because we know exactly what species we're looking for.
Okay, great. And the last question about the iNaturalist is about the to be the administrator of the project. To be a member of this project, you need to approve the person. And how does it work, you know, to approve somebody to be in the project?
Not ours. So you can make that an option where you have to approve members. We don't. People just join our project, and then once they join our project, if they identify Zostera marina, eelgrass, it automatically gets included in our project. We don't monitor that. But in your case, you probably would want to, just because, I mean, depending on, maybe you don't, maybe you want anyone to join. It's completely up to you.
Okay, thank you. Now, great.
Taylor, I just had
a question about. Yep.
I had a couple of questions, Taylor. Are you interested in pictures of seaweed on the beach that's been washed up?
So it depends, right? So we only want eelgrass. So seaweed and eelgrass are different things. So if you took a picture and you saw something and you wanted to upload it to our project and you said, I think it's Zostera marina, you could click Zostera marina and upload it. And then if it was actually a seaweed, someone would go, nope, and it would be removed. So eelgrass for sure, if it's washed up on the beach, we'd love to see it. I mean, at least then we know in and around the area, there is a meadow. It might not be right there, but we know that there's eelgrass in the vicinity. And the more cases we see in that area, the more likely we are to nail down where the actual meadow is.
Okay. And people that are harvesting eelgrass or seaweed, is that something that we should be taking note of too, or is that?
I mean, people usually aren't harvesting. I mean, people do harvest a lot of kelp and seaweed. There's a lot of kelp and seaweed that's delicious and it's used for various things. There's a very big kelp harvesting, I don't know the organization, but they kind of along the Bay of Fundy, and they harvest it for fertilizers and stuff for farmers. So that's fine. Eelgrass really is not harvested in the same way. Traditionally, it was harvested, the stuff that washed up on shore. People would take it and they would dry it out. It was used for insulation in houses. It was also used, it's incredible as fertilizer and compost for your garden. But it's not really, people really don't collect eelgrass. So it's not really an issue. When we harvest it, we go out with our team and we very specifically harvest individual shoots for replanting. But we're pretty much the only people that do that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. I mean, if you see someone ripping up an eelgrass meadow, yes, please tell us. That's not good. We would love to know if that's happening, but it really doesn't happen like that. Robin?
Yeah, I was going to post something in the chat, but it doesn't seem to let me do that. I'd like to note that I cannot download the most recent version of Teams on my computer because it's an old computer, and Teams is extremely awkward for me to use for meetings. This has been a case with a lot of other organizations as well. So I know a lot of.
I'll say it's not just you.
Yeah.
Teams is awful.
Yeah. Why are we using Teams?
That's a good question.
Because it's Dalhousie platform.
It's Dalhousie, yeah.
Yeah. Does Dalhousie are you not allowed to use another platform from Dalhousie?
So like I use Slack within my team, but you have to pay for it, right? So I mean, Teams is something that we can use and we don't have to pay for it. The individual labs only have so much money, right? So you kind of stick with the lesser of all the evils, and it's Teams and it's free.
I don't know what that platform is you said. What was that platform name you said? The other one?
We use Slack. So within my lab, we use Slack, and it's great, but we have to pay for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, my general preference is Zoom, which I pay for a professional account on Zoom, but you can also get a free account for smaller or shorter meetings. Anyway, I'm happy to set up a meeting on Zoom if we're meeting again in future, if that's preferable. But I'd just like to note that Teams is a perennial problem, and institutions keep enforcing it. They keep requiring people to do meetings on Teams, and people who aren't associated with an institution are gravely disadvantaged by the use of Teams.
No, and that's that's good to know, Robin. So you can talk with Camille if we have this again. If Zoom works better, I have absolutely no preference, so I'm happy to operate on Zoom.
Yeah, I'd like to note it because it just keeps coming up and up and up, and institutions, I'm sorry, they don't give a shit about it. So people working at institutions have to be aware of it so they can work around it as necessary. The point I was going to just bring up, I was going to say that I believe we have an eelgrass meadow off of Causeway Beach on Sober Island, because one of our members who's lived there all his life noted it back in our December visit to the beach.
So you said Causeway Beach?
Well, we're calling it Causeway Beach. That's not what it's called on the map. It doesn't seem to have a name on the map. It's on, if you take the Mosier Cove Road out to the end of Sober Island, it's a long, long, long beach that goes along by the road there.
What, sorry, just say what island?
Sober Island. So just to the far left of your screen, to the lower left of your screen, it says Sober Island. Yeah.
Sober Island.
Yeah. So if you zoom in a bit more, you'll see that there was what looks like a big lake in the middle of the island.
Yeah, Sober Island Pond.
Yeah, it's actually open to the sea. It's sometimes been a cove and sometimes been a pond. And right now there is an opening in that breakwater on the left-hand side. But we're on the right-hand side. You see where it says Sober Island Oysters Limited. Just below that is a long beach that's beside the road. And that's our beach on the Mosier Cove Road. Although you see Mosier's Cove is actually the cove above, to the north of the beach. We don't have an official name for the beach, but we're calling it Causeway Beach.
Perfect. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think this is an area that we've been to. So that's interesting. That's interesting that it's open there, because I never would have thought that. So good to know. Thank you for sharing. All the information that is shared, I bring directly to our lead scientist, and then we go and we go on little scouting adventures.
Yeah, and just to note, the beach, of course, is on the east side of the road. It's facing the open ocean. And I just wanted to say the conversation about iNaturalist versus PlantNet. Camilo, are we thinking of going over to iNaturalist, or are we just talking in terms of eelgrass?
No, it's just we're talking about the project, because the idea is that we don't want to repeat the efforts that other projects are doing. So the idea is that we can join the CERI project as a part of our project. So imagine that you want to collect this data, but we won't include at the same time in our project, but it will also go to CERI project with Taylor. So both initiatives will benefit from the same information.
Yeah, I know we did a beach monitoring yesterday at Causeway Beach, and it actually came up that several people were already on iNaturalist, and they wanted to know why we weren't using it instead of PlantNet. Also, the fact that iNaturalist will identify fauna as well as flora, which can also be useful. And the other question that came up is, should we be documenting ocean vegetation that is washed up on the beach? I hearing yes, we should for eelgrass. We didn't know if we should in general. We haven't been instructed to do that, but we did wonder about it. Camilo,
Sorry, if you're asking me, Robin, or were you asking Camilo?
Camilo, because it sounds like we will be documenting eelgrass that washes up on the beach. So should we be documenting?
Yeah, this is the plan during the year, not just now.
Okay.
Because the plan is that during this year we have 2 workshops, in-person workshop with Taylor.
Yeah.
One will be in the southeastern shore, and the other will be the northeastern shore. I would love to have 5 different workshops with Taylor, but I think she has too many other things to do. So we will just focus on 2 big groups.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that we are not expecting, will be great, but we are not expecting that each citizen scientist will be observing all the different parameters, because our project, the idea is we will be managing more than 15 different parameters. But the idea is that somebody is doing kayaking now, or is more opinion to go underwater, observe the eelgrass will be perfect for this person. This is the idea. But also, and I will use also our time to ask something related more than the iNaturalist to Taylor. I'm quite curious about how do you first, how do you download the data from iNaturalist? Because I know that there are some apps like PlantNet, for example, that you have an API, so you can connect your database with the API with PlantNet, and you can download the data, not just the picture. How do you do this with iNaturalist, and how are you doing that in your project?
Yeah, so there's an export function. So you can any data that that's there, you can download and then export the data. I've personally never done it myself. That's something that our lead scientist does. So I don't feel comfortable kind of like walking you through the process because I've never done it myself. But I know you can do it. So I know there's an option to download and export all of the data that you collect on your project.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do it,
just
but
now,
I know it's a thing.
Yeah, no, but in your project, how do you organize these data, these observations? Imagine that we are collecting, I don't know, 100 different observations on the Eastern Shore, go to your project. How do you organize this data? Which kind of, because at the end it's not just the picture is just the input, but later you will have the species, you will have the location, the date, all these kind of information about the observation. How do you organize that?
So I mean, we have our I'll show you our maps again. So I mean, we have our like Google My Maps, which is the main way that we organize our data. So I'll just pull this up here again so you can see. So I mean, that's the main way that we organize our data is with our Google My Maps. I don't want to pull it up because it does have a lot of other sensitive information, namely people's addresses and stuff. So I'm not gonna pull it up to show you, just so I'm not, doxing anybody.
Yeah.
So we all of the information that we have on our My Maps it has a location, it has all of our notes, and all the information from that particular observation. So that's how we organize our information. And then if we were to use that information in any publication or any other way, Christina has her way of organizing that information. That's not something I'm a part of because I don't publish our data or write our reports. That's her. So
okay, yeah, no, and I will try to contextualize for everybody about the question, because one of the challenge that we have now, I think most of the citizen science projects or initiatives is that if we want to obtain all the data to do analysis at the end, the idea is not just to collect the data, it's also to have information and to influence the decision making. So we can use this data to improve something. However, the way that we download this data and organize in an automatic form, I think it's the best way. So if you are using My Maps, do you export, if I understood well, you export the data and later you upload manually to the My Maps, or do you connect in an automatic way?
No, so we go on iNaturalist and we manually enter our data. It's a bit tedious, but as of right now, with the volume of observations that we have, it works for us. We're not working with monster data sets, so we manually enter everything at the moment, and I'm assuming it's going to stay that way, unless we start observing all over the country, in which case we'll be switching how we do that, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's great. And just to tell everyone, we are just last week we present a proposal to create a platform that automatize everything. That we don't need to enter manually. So we just take the picture, for example, in PlanNet, and will be connected. PlanNet has this API that connect the data and download to a database, centralized database. But this is just the way that we want to advance. My almost last question is about what information can the citizen scientists access in your project, which is the kind of information that they can more than their own observations.
Yeah, so I'm actually all EC and CERI. I'll go because I'm on my personal iNaturalist account, so I can go in there and ideally you can access all of the information, right? So you can go on there and you can see, like, I'll share my screen here. So why iNaturalist is so great is that it's free and accessible data, right? So it's data that anybody can go on there and can access. So you can physically zoom in and you can see every single one of the observations and you can export them. So you can go back if you want all of the data, it's yours. So that's why iNaturalist is so great, because it is free and accessible data. So that's why we're trying to restart this project. It's kind of not paused. People are still observing, but we haven't had a really big push, and so we're trying to get a lot more information, because it is, again, free and accessible data is just so wonderful. So you just clicked export, and then you could all of this stuff, which I'm not going to go through because I can't help you, but you can get the data.
Yeah, great. No, that is great. Now I'm thinking that maybe if we have some student that may be interested to compare, for example, iNaturalist and PlanNet, because I think it could be quite interesting because both of them have this advantage that be free and accessible data, but I think each of them have some advantages. And the last part, my last question, but it's more than a question, it's an invitation. But my last question is, what requirements need to be covered to join anyone, your project as a citizen scientist? They need to register.
No, I mean, you just have to have an iNaturalist account. So you have to have an iNaturalist account, and you have to have a way to take photos, and then you have to have a way to upload those photos. So, I mean, as long as you are, able-bodied enough to be able to go out and take those observations in whatever way you decide to. And then you have to obviously have the ability to take those photos and then have some kind of computer tablet device to be able to upload them. And I mean, that's it. We don't vet anybody. Everybody's welcome to join our project. You have to just take photos of the right species in order for it to be included. But that's pretty much it.
That's great. Do you have any platform to communicate? You say in Slack, or just with your lab, not with the citizen scientist?
It would be through the iNaturalist project. So you can send us messages on the iNaturalist project if you like. So this is my personal iNaturalist here, but you could send a message at the top corner. You can message the projects and send messages. Also, if you have a question for us, you can also just email us at, you can email me personally, or you can go on our website, info@eelgrass.ca. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of us.
Great. Thank you. I don't know if we have another question from Robin or comment from Anne and Stuart.
Kate announced the news online today saying it is a relief to now be in remission.
No, we're fine. Thank you.
On recovery.
Okay.
And just maybe Camille, at some point we should touch base about some kind of workshop, because depending on what you were looking for, again, eelgrass unfortunately found under the water, and so there's only so much that we can do in a land-based situation. So I mean, we could do beach walks and look for washed up eelgrass. That's kind of a shot in the dark if you're going to find eelgrass or not. Typically we do BioBlitz on the water, so we go kayaking, paddleboarding, that kind of thing. We personally don't have kayaks, so maybe we should talk at some point about how we actually would want to structure some kind of workshop to make it worth it everybody, and we can talk about that another time, but just something to think about.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you very, very much for your time. I think I'm very happy with all the information that you gave to us. And surely it will increase the interest to have our in-person workshop in the spring. So I think we will keep in contact to organize the workshop. And if you have a kayak, I know that Stuart and Anne have a kayak and like to kayaking close to Moosehead Beach. So I think it's an opportunity that we can also have fun and do a science. That this is at the end the idea, to be citizen scientists.
Awesome. If anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to share my email or to send us a message. I'm the coordinator, so I'm the one to talk to. So if you have any questions, please feel free. And I'll send those two locations that all three of you mentioned to our lead scientist and see what she thinks. So thank you for sharing those.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will share the recording through our Telegram group. That is possible because it supports this big file. And later, I don't know exactly when, because it needs time, but I will upload to YouTube and edit the video so anyone can access very, very easy. But for now, it will be in Telegram. So thank you very much.
And just if everyone wants to, our website is eelgrass.ca. We got very lucky that we got that that domain. So you can type in eelgrass.ca and that'll take you to us. And so if you want to learn more about our various projects and initiatives, you can check us out there, as well as if you wanted to subscribe to our newsletter, you could do that as well. We have monthly updates that we send out as well. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really nice to meet all of you. Hopefully